welcome to another episode of the Trainer Talk or Thumb Strong podcast.
It's gonna take a while to...
Sorry. Lauren, welcome. You just rolled in from fighting fires. Good job. Had to use his physical abilities outside.
Hey,
to
that's
do
exactly
tasks,
what we're talking about.
which is kind of what we're talking about today. So today we're going to talk about how working out is way more than just aesthetics. It's about making everyday life easier, safer, and more enjoyable. Basically being able to train for life. What life brings us as far as the activities, the chores, the different things that we have to do outside of the gym, that's what we train for. So, in other words, we want to talk about kind of how functional fitness relates to everyday life and how it can make everyday tasks easier. Mm-hmm. So let's kick it off. Bethany, you got the notes?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You're right. I do like this topic, by the way.
Yeah. So why functional fitness matters for this is that when we work out, our fitness should translate to real life activities, which, you can come in and do all the bicep curls you want and, get big biceps and look great. Fantastic. But we also should be training to translate to other real life activities that are to make them easier or to be able to do them in the first place. And so, you want to impact your strength, your mobility, and your endurance. And that all impacts your longevity. Because imagine, if you don't do any of that, once you hit, 70, 80, sometimes younger, sometimes older, people will get to that point where their mobility, their strength limits them, and they're not able to do all the things that they are required to live on their own. And so that's when they go into assisted living or care. And so in order to stay as independent and live on your own as long as possible and be able to do everything that you want to do, you want to be able to train for that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And what kind of sparked this idea was actually, as most of you guys know that are watching, we got a lot of snow last night. For the first time in a long time, we've gotten a decent amount of snow. And I was out shoveling the driveway, and I just did my sidewalk, and I did a path to the garage in front of the garage door so we can get out. And, I'm breathing a little heavy, working up a little bit of sweat. And I was thinking to myself, there are a lot of people that probably couldn't do this or do it well, just because they don't have the strength. Maybe they have a back injury, a knee injury, and so it's like when you have to go to work or something, and what if you couldn't plow yourself out and you were late or something? Like just little things that we don't think about that really affect it, everything that we do. Mm-hmm. Another example on here, like the very first one is, carrying groceries, shopping bags, right? So the movement that would go with that, we do a lot of farmers carries, suitcase carries, that kind of stuff with the kettlebells. So if anybody that's watching has done those recently in any of our classes, that's just one of those things that we're training for. It's being able to carry, maybe you're, while we have a lot of farmers around here, maybe it's just carrying pails around the farm, that's exact same movement, right? So we're preparing you for everyday life with some of these movements that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And make it that much easier too.
Yeah, making it easier.
Just it, strengthens your grip, core, shoulders, and just endurance for carrying that large amount. Because if you're carrying something for a long time, and you gotta set it down, take a rest, and then if it's super heavy for you. But if you've been training heavier than what you're used to doing for your job, then you're able to do your job more efficiently. You don't have to take as many breaks, that sort of thing too.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. That reminds me, I was at Marshall's with my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law's one day, and we ended up with a bunch of not plastic bags, but the big durable bags full of stuff, and they were really heavy. And so I grabbed two of them, just in a farmer's carry, and was walking out. And they're I was pregnant at this point, and they're "Are you sure you got that?" And I'm I do this all the time at the gym. I'm just doing a farmer's carry, but it's so true. I mean, I picked it up with good form and made sure I didn't hurt my back. And yeah, it's just funny how it literally related right to exactly what we do for workouts here.
Yep, 100%.
There's a lot of people in the gym too that have a physically demanding job, whether it's public servant or construction, or even guys that work at the DPW. They were just out digging holes because the water line broke a couple in the past 2 weeks. So they're constantly being physically active, really getting a workout in. And I think you can kind of hone in like what physical attributes you're using in your job, depending on where you work, and think about that. And then you can exercise those same movements and in a way that will benefit you at work in the gym. You know what I mean? Like you can figure out like, all right, what are you doing as a construction worker? You're hauling around a lot of heavy wood. You're constantly like, maybe you need balancing on, beams in the ceiling, or there's things like that you can.
You're definitely like hunched over, bent over a lot with literally drills, saws, all that kind of stuff. Like probably deadlifting in like RDLs and things like that to strengthen like your lumbar, your hamstrings. Like that would be important for sure. Yeah.
And not only do you want to work out to be better at the things you do in work, but you want to work out to prevent like some of the injuries that are common in your profession. Like you mentioned, the back, your lower back. A lot of construction workers have a lot of like back issues, or shoulder. So those are things that can be prevented within these walls.
And the worst part is like if they do get injured, it's like you're off work, and you're a lot of those guys might not get paid, or maybe it's less than what they would get paid, and that can be detrimental. So it's like you're not just exercising and working out and taking care of yourself to be able to do work, but it's like you're preventing something bad from happening that could keep you from working. So I would say it's preventing injury and things like that, but also being able to do your job easier and being able to do other things easier, like things maybe that you want to do. So maybe on the weekend you want to go play with the kids, go hiking, go biking, kayaking, whatever. You want to be able to do those things. So there's so many reasons to be able to do this. So let's go
back to this.
Let's go through some of the examples.
Yeah. So you talked about a few of them, but one is picking up a child or pet. You need to be able to deadlift or squat to deadlift, kind of a hybrid to build your lower back strength, your legs, your core strength, to be able to lift them safely without injury. Getting up from the floor, from playing with kids, gardening, sports, etc., doing like a Turkish get up or a burpee. And that's just improving full body coordination, your core stability and mobility. Sitting down and just standing up, just from chairs, toilets, low couches, like a low car, things like that. Just doing squats, whether that's bodyweight squats, goblet squats, barbell squats, strengthening the legs, glutes, and core. And then climbing stairs, hiking, walking uphill. You want to do step ups and lunges because that's that single leg strength. You need that stability, you need that strength and endurance with that. Opening jars, carrying suitcases, and holding tools needs grip strength. So you would train the grip strength from like dead hangs to more farmer's carry or suitcase carries, or like towel pull-ups, like trying to just challenge that grip even more. Rope climbs is part of that too. Wrist and hand strength in general for that. Lifting objects overhead, so putting items up on shelves, changing light bulbs, etc. We pretty much know if you're holding your arm over your head trying to change a light bulb or work on something for a long time, like your arms get tired. And it's like, our arms are in pretty decent shape. They have good muscle endurance, good mobility. It's like, imagine if you don't have great shoulder mobility or strength, how challenging that would be. Next to just pushing a shopping cart, stroller, or lawnmower, doing sled pushes or push-ups to engage the chest, shoulders, arms, core. Doing rows like dumbbell rows, barbell rows, TRX rows for pulling open heavy doors, moving furniture around, and then making sure that you're balancing while walking on uneven surfaces. So for hiking, when you're walking on ice, which we do a lot around here, and just like public transport, moving around up and down curbs, things like that. So doing single leg exercises to improve balance, coordination, and ankle stability. Next one is core strength, just for everyday movements like getting out of bed, twisting, carrying kids on one side, etc. Just turning around like this. Sometimes people will twist their back and tweak it, right? And so what you want to do is planks, Russian twists, or anti-rotation core exercises like a pull-off press. And then the other one, jumping over puddles, dodging obstacles, or just other quick movements when you have to move rapidly. Being able to do box jumps, plyometrics, things like that, so that way you still will keep that power and agility and reaction time, which is something that we don't do very much of, except in those instances.
Right.
And then preventing falls, catching yourself when you're slipping. So that comes back to, again, single leg stability and depth of drop. So like standing on top of a box and then dropping down to then stop yourself from moving.
Mm-hmm.
Training your body control, proprioception, so just like where your body is in space, and then how to reflect and training your reflexes to be able to react quickly. Standing for long periods would be for cooking, working, waiting in line, etc. Doing calf raises or other posterior chain work like sandbag holds, things like that. Rotational movements would be like throwing a ball, reaching for something behind you, swinging a golf club. You would want to do something like wood choppers or cable rotations to train the obliques. That's, the twisting muscles here for your core. Getting in and out of a car, making sure that you're doing hip mobility drills and squats. And the last one, carrying a backpack or holding a baby for long periods. You'd want to do like rucking or different weighted carries, like a sandbag carry, either in front of you or on your shoulder, or then the rucking is taking a really heavy backpack, putting that on and walking with that.
Yep.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah,
Really good.
18,
I
17,
had a
great.
lot of thoughts.
Well, there's a lot of movement patterns, and I think if you want to train for life's circumstances, you need to train all those different movement patterns.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I can't list them all, but some of them off the top of my head, hinging. So all those movements you mentioned are within the movement patterns of hinging at your hips,
Squat.
lunging, squat, lunging to the side, rotational, pushing, pulling, and then going from adding them together. Maybe you're lunging and pulling, you're lunging and pushing, twisting and pushing.
Plyometrics.
Plyometrics, yeah, exactly. So I think that that type of exercise where you start combining the movement patterns has the most benefit for if you're training for life. You know what I mean? Which we started doing recently.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was funny because DeLorean showed me the other day, we were kneeled down. So think like a lunge position with one knee on the floor, and you do a kettlebell swing, and it's a rotational swing. And then I was out and I had one foot in front of the other, and I was shoveling snow.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
there
I'm
you go.
literally doing the exact motion that we were doing with these kettlebell swings when I'm
I
shoveling
didn't even think of that.
Funny.
Yeah.
And so it was very cool how it directly related. But I was even talking to you about, like, think about people if they got to tie their shoe. What do they have to do? They have to literally lunge down, hinge forward, tie their shoe, stand back up from a lunge. If you can't do that, that's why do you think people got to sit down every time they got to tie their shoe? Because they don't have the strength to literally lunge down to tie their shoe. So, and we talk about, like, one of the very first things I explain to new clients when they come in is getting up off a chair.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's the first movement we train? The squat. And we
Yeah.
start with a box. And I say, sit to this box, stand back up. That's a squat. The moment you can't do that anymore is the moment you need a walker, you need a cane, you need a wheelchair, power chair. So that's why we're going to do it, right? So it's explaining and relating how we do certain movements in here, how it's actually going to translate to your real life. So yeah, this is very, very cool. But I wanted to kind of get people to wrap their head around those everyday movements. Even like, okay, you carry the groceries into the house. Okay, you're doing a farmer carry, and then you're putting stuff away. Maybe it's on the top shelf of the cabinets. And so you're doing essentially a clean and press. You're going down, picking it up, you're putting it up there. Going down, picking it up, putting it up there. And so what do we do all the time? Dumbbells, clean and press, barbell, clean and press, kettlebell, swing, all kinds of movements that are getting some shoulder and that same movement pattern, right? Gardening. A lot of people around here in the summer, they like to garden. So they're squatting down, they're bending down, they're basically doing a deadlift, a squat, or some kind of kneel the whole entire time. Lunge.
They're doing twisting.
They could be moving around the wheelbarrow, or they're picking it up, pushing a wheelbarrow. So you kind of have a deadlift and like a sled push, combination for that strength. Plus you're balancing it, which takes tons of core stability. You get a weak core, that wheelbarrow is going to tip over. It's super simple things like that. Getting up out of bed.
Gardening is generally an exercise in itself, to some people.
Yep, for sure.
But if you don't know how to move your body in the correct way, that can be harmful.
Like hurt
at the
your
same
back
time.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's heard the expression, don't lift with your back.
That's true. Yeah.
almost everybody's heard of that,
Mhm.
but they just don't know how to
I was
properly.
gonna say, do they really know what that means?
Yeah, they don't know how to
Yeah.
properly do a deadlift,
Yeah.
and we're guilty of it sometimes too. Like if we're picking up a light dumbbell, we might break form and pick it up
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah.
too. But for somebody that doesn't have the strength, all it takes is picking
Mhm.
up some. You could pick
Draw your
up
back
something off the
up.
floor that doesn't weigh anything. You could put a rib out.
Yeah.
Throw your back out of line. Things like that.
Mhm.
So
That happens.
for sure.
So next we can get into some common excuses that we hear and how to overcome them. Main one is like, oh, I don't have time to work out. And it's like, all right, short functional workouts are enough to do. So it's like, what can you find time to do? It's like, well, I've got no more than 15 minutes to work out. It's like, great. We'll put you through a circuit training, or like you can do it at
Mhm.
home. All you need is like, honestly, if you get a couple kettlebells, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Get a couple
Dumbbells
kettlebells,
or kettlebells.
do like a
Mhm.
15-minute circuit of like some swings, or like you can do some kettlebell squats, deadlifts, some presses with the kettlebell. Like, so you're getting all those different movements in: the twist, the single leg, the squat, the hinge, the push, the pull. So like you're pushing overhead, you're rowing with the kettlebell. I mean, you can pretty much do everything with just
Yeah.
one piece of equipment at home.
I think if I had to choose one piece of equipment, it would definitely be the kettlebell.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can do pretty
Yeah.
much
Quite a bit
anything you
with
can do
that.
with a dumbbell.
yeah, like both of
Plus
them are pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need all the fancy things. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, yes, it's great to have sleds and it's great to have all the equipment that we have here, sandbags. But you can get the essentials to keep yourself functional with those like short little workouts even. Another one is, I'm not a gym person. It's like,
Mhm.
cool, workouts can be done at home too. Or maybe you're just not a gym person for one type of gym.
Right.
But,
So
like,
you haven't
maybe-
found the right fit yet.
Right. That can be
Yeah.
part of it too.
That didn't we just talk about that? Like you got to find proof to prove that.
Oh yeah, like instead of just discounting something, like
Yeah.
find proof to prove your point. Like,
Yes.
at least go
So-
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get, maybe you had a bad experience in the
Right.
gym doesn't mean it's going to happen every single
Right.
time.
And maybe that class you did wasn't for you, and try
Yeah,
a different
yeah,
class.
yeah,
exactly.
Or yeah, you're
Well,
comparing.
I mean,
one
even
gym
here, it's
to-
like realistically, it's two different gyms.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
this room right here is a completely
I
different.
don't even
space
like going out there.
than that space.
I
We
always
have
say,
like the
"Ugh."
24/7. Everybody's got their headphones on.
There's
Whereas you
kind of
come
your
out here,
typical gym.
yeah,
out there.
everybody's more
Out here,
just
it's very different.
talking,
Communicate more, yeah.
communicating. It's just a completely different
Yeah.
atmosphere. So
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely can't
Yeah.
discount a gym based off prior experience. Yeah, try
If
some
we
things.
have like something programmed that's out in the gym and I'm working out by myself, like not with you guys, I'll try to figure out something
modify
I
it
can
and
do
do it
in
on your
here. Just
Yeah.
because, yeah,
It is interesting
it's
for
just
sure.
different. Yeah, so you just have to find your fit.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll tell you what
Some
though,
people enjoy that.
there is
you
a
know?
crew starting to go out there in the middle of the day, consisting of like your aunt, my mom, dude.
Yeah.
There's like, and people are
They
being
chat the whole
added to the
time,
crew,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's they're always
Well,
there together.
So there's one of our members doesn't speak English,
Yeah.
and Paul came out yesterday, and he said that she got Google Translate on his
Oh.
phone, and so they're talking to each
Oh,
other over
cool.
Google Translate,
Okay.
and so I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like that the atmosphere is shifting a little
Mhm.
bit. I know your
Yeah.
mom enjoys talking to a lot of the people in there, and it's made some
Yeah.
new friends and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely
The
not what
time
people
of
think.
day makes a difference.
Yeah.
You know, what
Yeah.
time you come and
But also, I think we just have a preconceived
yes.
idea of what the gym is,
Mhm.
and a lot of people think, oh, it's full of bodybuilders
Mhm.
and bikini competitors and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and it's just it's
Yeah.
not the case.
Well, going back
There
to
are very, very few gyms that are specifically
Yes.
bodybuilder and competitive level based gyms.
Mhm.
I mean, there just aren't a whole lot of people that do that, really,
Not around here.
in comparison to the amount of people in the
Yeah.
in the world or in the
Yeah.
United States. So.
going
Yeah.
back to the podcast or two ago when we talked about the 6 things to not do in 2025, make assumptions. Was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
one
exactly.
of them, it's
Yep.
holding you back. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Another one is like, I don't need to lift weights, and that could be, oh, I do a lot of manual labor at work,
Mhm.
and I don't need to lift weights because that keeps me in shape.
Mhm.
And it's like, it does until it doesn't. It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
if you're doing the same repetitive motions over and over
Mhm.
again, there might come a day where you do get injured. because you're over
Training.
and you're imbalanced because you're doing
Mhm.
one. If you're shoveling, like your back's gonna start to hurt on one side, or one shoulder might start to hurt.
Well, that kind of reminds me of like baseball players,
Yeah.
pitchers in general.
Mm.
They have an overdevelopment of anterior, like their pec, their shoulder, their delt, and so if they don't train the opposite and the other side, they develop imbalances, and that's where they really injure themselves. So like
Yeah.
Barry, high school athlete of ours. He's college baseball player now, and he's in here and he does tons of accessory work and make sure that he hits both arms and everything like that, front and back, different movement patterns. He does a lot of like the crossover symmetry because although he's doing certain things all the time, developing that strength and skill, he's got to make sure he's preventing the injury. So like exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And we all know if you do the exact same thing every day, there's a time where it no longer provides any benefit. You're just going to plateau.
Mhm.
You've got to change the stimulus. And
Yeah.
something that you can do for 4, 6, 8 hours straight, it's not going to give you the same stimulus as when you come in and crush something for 30 minutes or
Mhm.
60 minutes. Way different intensity level. It's going to provide a way different benefit,
Yeah.
just because of the stimulus.
Yeah.
So,
And just mentally having an outlet from your job.
Yeah.
Like something.
Yep.
different.
And actually, most of the jobs around here that I can think of that are manual labor, there's usually a slow time and a busy time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about, so usually it's like, we talk about this a lot, but it's like off season or during when you're slower, hit the gym and
Hit it a little bit
maintain
more.
that strength and functionality. And then when you are really busy, just dial it back
Mhm.
and just maintain
Right.
/ prevent injury.
Yeah.
That's good.
Another one is I'll start when I get older, which is maybe something for a little bit more of a younger crowd of like, oh, I don't have any problems. I don't have any
Yeah.
pains or issues right now. You're in your 20s, you're invincible. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'll start when I get older. But it's important to build strength now to avoid those limitations. Like,
It's a lot easier too right now.
Yep, it's a lot easier
Like
to do
how
it when
many
you're younger.
clients tell us, "Oh, I wish I would have
Done it
Yeah.
much younger.
started this
All of them.
20 years
Mhm.
ago." All of them, yeah.
Pretty
But that's
much.
also to say of like, even if you are older, it doesn't matter what time you
Right.
start, you're going to get benefits no matter what age, because every
If you are
exercise,
younger.
right? Yeah, and then every exercise can be modified to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like it's always just meeting you where you're at.
Mhm.
So maybe to get into a little bit of a simple workout plan for this functional strength. So I mean, we generally recommend 3 to 4 days a week of resistance training, even if that's a quick little tiny workout. Like you said earlier, there's all these different movements that hit under the umbrellas of like, there's a twisting motion, and then there's hinge, which would be like a deadlift, a squat, which would be, you can do like a squat with kettlebell or just body weight squat, push, some sort of push-ups or pushing weight overhead, pull for a row, and then doing some sort of plyometric. It could be kettlebell swings, could be doing some jumps, different things like that, or like unilaterals, another one too. So doing like your side lunges, your front lunges.
Mhm.
And I mean, those, how many are, is that 6, 7?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Doesn't take very many.
Yeah.
No, but it's like you choose one from each of those categories. And like we just listed out a bunch of different exercises. Carries, that'd be another one. Do some sort of carries for the grip strength. And then that pretty much builds your workout.
Mhm.
Make a little circuit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a great example. So, okay, how many reps should I do? How many sets? So if you got 5 to 10 minutes, you pick probably 5 to 6 exercises or one for each kind of movement pattern / muscle group. And you might do a circuit of 3 rounds for 25 seconds on, 25 off, which is basically what we do in boot camp.
Yep.
You could do 30 on, 30 off, 30 on, 15 off. Change up the intensity level of it based off work and rest, or you could just do a certain amount of reps. So you could go through the entire thing for 10 reps, take a minute or two off, go through the entire thing, take a minute or two off, go through the entire thing, and then you're done. So there's a few different ways that you can do it depending on what you have accessible to you, and I would recommend playing around with them every like 2 to 4 weeks. adjusting it a little bit and switching things up.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but now I can't remember what it was.
Sure.
Anything else?
Not on that. I don't
No.
have anything.
Okay.
I guess just to recap.
Man.
So training for life, obviously it outweighs just training for your looks. There's a lot more, like, yes, it's great to change body composition, all that kind of stuff. But training for life allows you to have more freedom to do all the things you want to do for longer.
Yeah.
And that's, that leads to a better quality of life when you can do the things that you enjoy. So what you want to do is assess where you struggle right now. Like if you do have some sort of injury or limitation, assess which of those movements, whether that's the lunging or it's the twisting, it's carrying, something like that, maybe squatting. See where you struggle and start to incorporate those exercises. It can just be even just a little bit, just 5-10 minutes a day, a couple days a week. Just start there and then build from there. Or if you feel like you don't have the willpower to do it on your own, then that's why you come into the gym, and we help you out with that and get you started where you're at. If you're worried about injuring yourself or anything like that, we modify everything to make sure that it stays safe for you.
Yep. And to go off of that, we were talking about this earlier, but we try to make it as simple as possible. So 9 times out of 10, for all beginners, we usually do at least 1, if not up to 5 personal training sessions with you to teach you these basics, get you comfortable with the movements before you even start your training program. All of our group training classes are 45 minutes, so it's not a huge time commitment. And we mentioned full body workouts, functional training is kind of the best bang for your buck. So all of our workouts are full body functional movements. So all you really need is 2 or 3 days a week for 45 minutes. So when you actually add it up, you're talking about less than 3 hours a week to experience massive benefits, not only aesthetically, but more importantly, making everyday life easier, feeling better, feeling stronger, having more confidence, being able to do the things you want to do, reducing risk for injury, all kinds of stuff.